welcome to the Joe Show. I'm your host, Joseph Decker. Thank you guys for tuning in again today. We had an episode earlier today at about 11:45, and then prior we were supposed to do one at 10 o'clock. Things kind of fell through, but we'll be rescheduling that to Monday for those wondering. So thank you for the support today. Going ahead and making sure all these posts are up on social media so you guys can go ahead and check them out. Thank you guys, though, once again for the support, like I said. But I want to go ahead and get straight into our sponsorships and talk to you about them today so we can get straight into our guests. We start off with our show sponsor, which is a two-part. That is the Hidden Homestead and Scott Skaggs Photography. The Hidden Homestead is a local venue owned by Scott Skaggs in Cleveland, Kentucky. It excels in weddings, parties, and events. Scott Skaggs Photography is linked with the Hidden Homestead. Scott does the photos and can do them for a bit of everything, senior photos, weddings, and much more. Next is Kevin Alexander. Kevin is our Edmonson County Clerk, located at the clerk's office across from the bank. Next up is Grable Funeral Home. Grable Funeral Home is a local funeral home dedicated to those we served. It is owned by Roy Grable, and it is as you exit the bridge going into Brownsville. Tint Studios is by Henry Menendez. It is a window tinting service in Bowling Green, Kentucky. They can do work on anything and have done some work recently on cars, houses, etc. Alfred's Pharmacy is a local pharmacy with the best experience in Edmonson County. High quality work and experience. Owned by Mr. Casey Alford. It is located in Brownsville's Main Strip across from the 5-6 Center. Next is Martin & Sons Plumbing. It is a local plumbing business in Edmonson County, owned by Brian Martin. The number is below at 270-597-7866. H&K Construction is owned by Alan Keppel. Follow their Facebook. They do quality homes at a price you can easily afford. Next up is Corey Colberth. Corey is your go-to insurance agent in Edmonson County and surrounding areas. Building before you leave Brownsville. It is located in the Kentucky Farm Bureau building before you leave Brownsville. Contact Corey through 270-597-2127. Our two last ones, but definitely not least, is Lake Forest Recruiting Firm. Lake Forest does high-quality psychiatrists and psych nurse practitioners to give patients the best care and experience possible. That is our guy over there, Jay Holland. Braden's Blessings. Braden's Blessings is a charity owned by Allison and Jay Holland, honoring the life of Braden Combs, who tragically lost his life in 2019. And I always like to remind you guys that our tech sponsor is Luke Wilson. So a big shout out to our sponsors. I'm going to keep them on the stream for most of the time, but with a few more people in the show today, I don't want to have them covering anyone's faces. Today we're joined by Grayson County's boys basketball, Coach Travis Johnston, and 2027 Spencer Langdon and 2027 Jack Logston. Jack currently to Prep Hoops is the number one ranked player in the state, so that'll be big to get Jack on here to talk about that a little bit. But a lot of things we're going to talk about is getting prepared for the season, summer ball experiences, and they go to Collins this weekend to play. So we'll be talking about things like that. I want to go ahead and welcome the guys in here. So Coach Travis, Jack, and Spencer. And perfect. Guys, how have you guys been?
Yeah.
How you doing? No problem. You guys are welcome back anytime in the future, like I've said before. But I want to touch on this, Travis. I'll start with you. Speak on the summer ball games, Coach. I know last time I checked, you guys were like 11-2. Close to that. How has the team grown and improved since like the first practices, first summer ball games, things like that?
Well, we like I said, I don't know how many games we played, but we've only lost 2 games. We've both of them been to Davis County, once at Western Kentucky camp, and then once at their place. And we've gotten a lot more consistent, I think, which is kind of what our downfall was last year. We were so young and inexperienced, and we just weren't consistent enough. And that's just youth and inexperience, like I said. But I'm pretty pleased with how we've been going through and staying pretty consistent without having several key guys this summer. I mean, Kobe Martin and Caden Hanshaw haven't played a single game. And they're 2 guys that could easily start for us. And Landon Haycraft, another potential starter, has only played half the games. But I think it's a testament to, I think our defense is getting better. And then on the other side, our offense with Jack, Spencer, and Brody are kind of our big 3, so to speak, is that they've been really, really good. And last season, their down games may have been 4, 6 points, such and such. And this summer it's been, they've always been double figures. So it's been good to see us be more consistent this summer.
Yeah, you mentioned him a little bit. I want you to speak on Brody. He's not in here today, but can you talk about Brody and the improvements he's made for your team?
Yeah, he is. When teams look at us, most people know Jack. They know he's 6'6" or 6'6", I guess. But they know he's a guard, so they're going to put a guard on him because they know he can play out. And then our next biggest guy is Brody. So if anybody has a big guy, they're going to stick them on him first. And in reality, Brody's not he's not a big guy. He's a guard too, and he's so quick with his first step and his angles and getting where he wants to go. And then on top of that, aside from maybe Spencer, he's probably our best 3-point shooter. Overall. So he's just a really big matchup problem. And when we're able to put him against other teams' bigs, it gives us a real big advantage, especially when the two best defenders are usually guarding these two guys.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that Brody is, in my opinion, with the stats kind of back it up, he might be the best shooter in our region by a comfortable amount, with the stats and the percentages, things like that. But I want to ask the same question that I asked Coach Travis, but for the two guys at the bottom. We'll start with Spencer and go to Jack. Speak on your guys' summer ball experiences so far for the school, and then tell me a little bit about AAU, who you're playing for, how games have went, competition, things like that.
Jack?
You said you.
I said Spencer first.
Oh, you said me? I think we've gotten better since last year. We got more consistent, and we gotten better on defense. Defense has won us games this summer, and last year defense didn't win us many games. So yeah, that's helped us a lot. And AAU's been going good too. We had a good summer. We were like 15-4 in AAU, I think. And we played some good teams. Went up to Indiana, Lexington, Louisville, Cincinnati, and we go to Georgia in July. So it's been going good, yeah.
And now we'll talk to the guy Jack down there.
Really, we can score the ball anytime we want to. We don't even have to run a set. We can guard a lot better than we could last year. We just play a lot better. And for AAU, I've been playing with Brad Bill Elite in the EYBL. We play 4 sessions and go to Peach Jam in South Carolina in July.
Okay. Jack, you said talking about your AAU team a little bit. Who are some of the top guys you're playing with down there?
Like on my team?
Yeah.
Top 20 ESPN, Scotty Atkinson. Some other, all of them are really good.
Yeah. Oh, I'll jump back to some questions now here, kind of focusing on third region, things like that. Coach, you get to scout a little more than me, keep up with some of the other teams in our region. What separates this Grayson County team from other teams in the region, and how do you guys kind of plan to dominate the third region and make a push this year?
Well, our biggest thing is getting back to the third region tournament. We haven't been there in 2 years. We got beat by Edmonson County 2 years ago. They ended up beating Butler County to win the district. That was a very good, very underrated Edmonson team. And then last year, Edmonton had a really good team last year. It just didn't. They don't get a lot of the love that a lot of teams get since they're at the bottom of the third region and stuff. But with us being so young last year, it was a learning experience, and we're really focusing on defense because like Jack mentioned a little bit, it's the easiest job it's been for me as far as offensive wise, just because these guys can go make plays and make shots. There's several times where Jack will drive in and throw up something that's contested with 2 guys on him that I'm thinking, what the heck are you doing? And it goes in, and it's something that I've had to adjust to and learn to let these guys go a little bit. I know a lot of people touched on it last year. We usually scored in the 50s. I think we averaged 70 last year, and but we can't beat, for example, Butler County. I don't think we're going to beat them in the 80s. They're too talented. They're too good. They have too many guys that can shoot it. Ty, Lawson, Breyer, and then there are other 2 guys, Deweese and Castlin, that can come in there and they play their roles great. But it's interesting because we have to compare. We usually compare ourselves to our district, And just so happens that the last 2 years, our district has had the best team in the region. So we're going to have to be able to get better defensively, and at the same time trust that we don't have to hold teams to 50 like we used to. We just can't give up very many easy points like we did last year.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I want to kind of stay on the topic of the third region for a little bit. A lot of lists have been coming out. People's always talking, and you look at the top guards that are almost always mentioned. The two names are usually, a guy like Jonathan Moss, Ty Price. They're all amazing talents. To some like me, I would even have them, some of the highest players in the state. But I want to ask you this. Talk about your point guard here with the Spencer. Do you think Spencer matches up with those guys, and why exactly?
I think that Spencer he's not as quick and shifty as those guys. That's something that really surprised me when Ty came back to the third region on how shifty and side to side quickness with the ball and all that. And then of course we've seen Moss twice this summer and he's gotten a lot better. But Spencer is able to do, he's only probably 5'10", maybe 5'11". But he can play bigger than that. He claims he's our best rebounder. Sometimes it doesn't show, but when he does go get them, you can definitely tell and stuff. And we throw him in the post some too when he has mismatches. And he's just somebody to where a lot of people early on, especially he was in 8th grade, labeled him as a shooter. And we were quick to discuss that he was a scorer, not a shooter. He can do it at all levels, floater, getting to the rim. His free throw is getting better. Three-pointer, obviously, he can hit from deep, off the bounce, 15-foot. I mean, he can just score at all different levels. And he's still got a lot of work to do. But the good thing with him is that he's going to be in the gym and he's going to be putting in that work.
Yeah. I'll ask you this, Spencer. To me and many other kind of sports outlets, you were the newcomer of the year for third region. They kind of titled you as the rookie of the year like that. What have you really been working on to improve your game necessarily? Any certain things in particular?
Main thing is just lifting, getting stronger. And it's helped me so far in AAU and summer ball where I ain't getting bullied and pushed around like I did in previous years, which I've been younger than everybody else. So that's made a difference. So getting older, getting more strong, that'll help. And my free throw too.
Okay.
I shot about 50% from the line last year.
Maybe.
It was 54. But it was pretty bad. I don't know.
I'll ask Jack a really similar question. You were on my first team all region last year, and you kind of made all those first teams for me. But what do you think what have you been pushing? I asked Jack, I asked Spencer the same thing. What have you been pushing to improve your game as? Anything in particular?
Definitely lifting and getting more explosive and quicker. You're going to need that to play at the next level and play with some of the guys that I play against in AAU. It's just, you got to get better at those things.
Yeah. I'll move on again. I like to stay in the third region a little bit because that's the competition that I'm really looking at this year. You all really competed with Butler last year, box score wise, and they were very competitive games, single digits. Coach, what does it take to beat this Butler team? Do you wish for a bad shooting night on their end? Do you wish for your guys' best games, or do you genuinely think you guys kind of line up even?
Well, they have somebody that we actually do a decent job against, all things considered. But Lawson is a huge mismatch problem for us, just like he is most people in the region. And I think he was in foul trouble most of the game. The second game we played, he wasn't able to do as much. But I think Breyer ended up making 4 or 5 threes that game. And part of it is hoping they have a bad shooting night, and the other part is making sure that Ty's working for everything that he gets, making sure our players understand that he's going to make some stuff that you think he shouldn't make, and then keeping him off the free throw line. I think that's what got us the first game at their places. If him or anybody on their team, if they do miss, from outside or from the floor. You can't foul them and put them at the free throw line because once they see the ball go in, it's just going to kind of snowball from there. But they're just a really good team, and I'd be hard pressed to find 10 other teams that are better than them in the state. But that being said, I think that at least score wise, and at least from our standpoint through the game, I think we played them better than anybody in the region probably did. As far as competitive wise and close, and then we didn't have Brody that second game either. But it's just something that we know they're good, but we have to believe that we can beat them, and we have to trust in whatever game plan that we do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was pretty clear you guys competed with them better than anyone else. I mean, the region scores really show that. Let me ask you this. So we obviously are talking to you, head coach Travis Johnson today, but speak on your other guys on your staff a little bit. Coach Ethan, Coach Brett, who has kind of been making me laugh on Facebook. They're both good characters. Speak on your coaching staff around you.
Well, the first guy is Brett, my brother. He's obviously very good. He's never able to come to summer games very much because he's not like me as a PE teacher. He's got a real job out in the workforce. So, but he's great. He's really good X and O's. He understands flow. He knows the game, obviously, and he's obviously somebody I look to right away. Coach Brian Hill is probably our main scouter. He does a lot of the video and the scouting reports and stuff like that for me, and does a ton of traveling and watching games and watching film. And then we got Ethan Saltzman, or not Saltzman. We had him a long time ago. Ethan Meredith. He came over from Warren Central. Obviously, he's from Grayson County, but he was on Warren Central staff where they went to the state finals, got runner-up, and then he got himself a state championship ring as well. And obviously, that's two different styles from Warren Central to Grayson County, but he's adjusted really well. And I think these guys can say he gets on them quite a bit, but he's always the first guy to have their back and stuff like that too. And then his dad, Daryl, has been with us forever. And I don't know if he'll ever step away from coaching, but he's got more experience in going places and watching games than anybody else on the staff combined. And then the last one we got to Mason Galloway, who very, very smart. Once he graduated, always said he wanted to be a teacher and a coach. And that's rare now. You don't find a lot of guys that want to do that. So I told him that as soon as he told me that, I told him as soon as he turned 21, he's got a spot. And he's been really good for us. He knows a lot more than what he says out loud. He's still getting comfortable with it and everything. But it's a really good staff, and I'm glad that we've been able to keep. I guess this is going into my 8th year, and I guess me, Brett, Brian, and Daryl's been together for probably 7 of it. So it's nice to have that consistency from the coaching staff and knowing what everybody's kind of thinking and where everybody's leaning to.
Yeah. I'll go back to you one more time for this one. You kind of, when you think about it, you're kind of the definition of Grayson County basketball. I mean, you have been there for a long time. You were a great player in high school. I want to ask you this. You were on some really good Grayson high school teams. Is there anything that, kind of reminds these guys? Do they remind you of, some of the teams you had back then, any players, things like that?
Well, I think that I think Jack likes to think he's better than me. He might be now. I don't know if I could play any of them now, but no, I do think that our depth, how many guys that we have that can score, is something that was similar to our 09 team that went to the Elite Eight. And I think that we had several shooters. I do think that this team has more higher level shooters than we had on the 09 team, but we could really lock up and we can really guard, and that's something. Of course, the game was a lot more physical then. You could hit and bump and jam and all that stuff. I do think that's something, and we were all juniors and seniors, so hopefully that's something these guys can grow into, and I really hope it's this year that we don't play the that we're too young and everybody's older than us card, and we go try to do it now because I do think we got a really good chance in these coming years.
I agree. I think this is going to be a really good year for you all as well. I want to talk a little bit more. Let's speak on the 12th district, Edmonson County, you guys, Butler and Whitesville. I want all of y'all to kind of speak on this, y'all's experiences, I guess you would say the atmosphere for these games. Speak on the rivalries, with Edmonson, Butler. And, is there any kind of rivalry there with Whitesville? We can start with Travis, and we can go back to Spencer and Jack.
Well, with Whitesville, I know they lost a lot of guys from the year before, but they had beaten us several times. They had some of the best teams that Whitesville's ever had, and a lot of really, really, really good players. And Nathan's a really good coach. And they got it's not the barn anymore, but they got their new building. They fill it up pretty good for their games, and then obviously Butler County's wild. I'm glad we moved the student sections apart at their games because that got a little rowdy. And then when they come here, and then obviously Edmonson County is everybody's going to be fired up for that game. And I know I talk with Sam, our radio guy, all the time. It doesn't matter if we're projected 15th in the region and Edmonson's projected 1, or vice versa. That game's always going to be close, and it's always going to be a dogfight for most of the game. And it is fun, though. Those are the fun games. We try to tell those guys all the time. Those are the ones that you'll remember, and the best crowds that you're going to get, and so on and so forth. So those games are pretty fun to coach in, and I know they were really fun to play in.
Yeah, I think all three of those teams are rivals, and there's nothing more fun than playing in those games in front of all those people. And like Coach Jay said, anything can happen. Just like last year when we beat Edmonton twice in the regular season, then they knocked us out in postseason. Yeah, there's just always a lot of people there. It gets loud, and it's a lot of fun.
All three of those teams are rivals. Whitesville actually almost beat us last year, the second time we played them. We came out slow. They almost beat us.
I want to Jack, sorry, I did not mean to cut you off. But I want to add this. I thought you were done talking. That's on me. I want to add on to this. I don't like to bring up losses, things like that. But, Coach, the loss in district last year to Edmonson County, can you kind of tell us, if you could go back to that game, what are some adjustments you would have made going into that, or that you would have made during the game that you kind of look back on and now, like, well, should have did that?
Well, we kind of knew or figured what their game plan would be, as far as trying to slow us down and things like that. And credit to them, they executed really well. Looking back, Brody started us out. I think he may have had our first 7 points, and then he ended up getting 2 fouls, I think either late in the first or early in the second. And we set him the rest of the first half. And even though we had a lead, it was only a 1-point lead, and I felt like that kind of sucked the air and the energy out of us. So I think going back, and he'd tell you the same thing, even though I don't know if I would have trusted him not to foul again. I would have probably tried to leave Brody in, or at least put him back in for a spell there in the second quarter. And then maybe the other thing is, I think we took the lead 39-38 at some point, and they sat back in their zone. Maybe pull it out, maybe make them come out and get us. And but we were starting to roll then, and I trust all of those guys who were open and making shots, or that could make shots to make them. And I think the bottom line is that they made timely shots, they made free throws, they controlled the tempo. But on the flip side with us, I believe we shot like 23% from the field, which was by far our lowest of the year. And I think some of that had to do with nerves and and I think it was everybody but Jack and maybe Landon's first district game, to where they were playing big roles and big parts in it. And but credit to them, that they played how they needed to, and they made the shots they needed to. But hopefully that it just makes us a little bit hungrier coming this year.
I was going to touch on that a little bit. Speaking about a hunger, do you think there's any? Are you guys out for them this year? Do you really want that next game against them?
Oh, you have to. You have to be. If not, you're not a competitor. And I think that Trey over in Evanston would say the same thing to his guys, that hey, they're going to be coming for you all, and it's just competitive nature and wanting to get back something that you didn't get, and if we don't have that fire against them that first game in early December, then we may have a bigger problem than just trying to beat them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I want to talk to the players and you about this. It's a question I kind of ask all coaches because I'm interested to see. Some say they do, some say they don't, but they usually give good answers. Those rivalry games, those big region matchups, do you game plan for those differently? Do you guys kind of take those games at a different level than you do maybe other regular season games?
I think that we definitely do the region games a lot more than out of region. And I would say the districts, at least the second game that we play, we try to amp up what we're doing and what we're trying to do and what we think will work and things like that. But I would say there's definitely a different level as far as in region and out of region.
And I want to ask Spencer and Jack this too. Is there a little bit of a different level of play that you guys bring, to those rivalry games and region games?
Yeah, for sure. Well, they just mean something a little bit more than the other games do. Like district games gets us seeded for the postseason, and yeah, we game plan different. We our scouting reports a few days, like we scout them for a few days at practice instead of just like one day before the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, the atmosphere is always a lot better in the in-region games than out of region. So, like, we're more than likely to come out and play against those teams.
Let's go ahead and get a new question here. I want to speak to Jack and Spencer on this one. This is y'all's opinion on Coach Johnston here. Speak to me a little bit about how Coach Johnston approaches practices. How hard does he push you guys?
He don't let us just goof around at all. He stays on us, and it makes us better for sure. Makes us play harder, and just we just can't go in the he don't let us go in the practice, just mess around and go through the motions. So yeah, it helps us come game time.
Yeah, he jumps on us quite a bit, like when we are messing around and not taking stuff serious.
I want to ask you two this again, another one. You guys got a favorite Coach Johnston story, out of a practice or out of a game, a huddle, something like that we can share here on the show?
I have to think.
My 7th grade year, I can't remember where we were, but he threw a marker and the cat came back and hit me in the forehead. Can't remember where we were.
That's a good one. Crazy you can remember something that far away ago. Spencer's really thinking, I can tell.
I can't even think of anything really. I don't know.
His head's not there half the time anyway.
Yeah,
I just
pay much attention.
I can't remember what I ate for breakfast this morning, to be honest.
Coach, we're talking to him right now, so I'll ask this. What makes this duo you have right here so special? I mean, I don't want to include any other guys out, but we have these two here with us. What makes these two so special?
I think that they are obviously, I think they work hard on some of the stuff they do. I personally think they both can be a lot better practice players, getting better in practice instead of just in the off season. But they just have they know how to play. They've been taught well, by their dads coached them a lot, and they obviously know a lot and have played, and they taught them a lot. And I just think that they know how to play. They know when the right read is. There's a lot of times where we try to get them or at least Spencer to be a little bit more selfish as far as hunting his shot. But, that's how he was raised and how he was taught how to play was just to be unselfish. And then obviously Jack is so skilled and can play at all three levels of the floor. And he's starting to use his length defensively. They just have so much talent and they know how to play. And I think they want to get better and push themselves to get to the next level. And when you have the talent, that's just the other half of the battle is being able to put in your head that, hey, this is where I want to get and this is how hard I have to work for it.
Yeah. I'm going to come back and ask you this question, Coach, but I want to ask Jack and Spencer first. Talk about your guys' teammates. Coach was talking earlier about the depth you guys have. So many guys who can play and compete. Talk about some of your guys' teammates, some of the guys you trust, practices with them, things like that.
You want to go, Jack? I got it. First, I want to talk about Chase Bannock. He's been a dog this summer. He stepped up. And if he keeps playing like he's been playing, he's gonna get some varsity minutes this season. And then Brody's a dog. He don't want to be a big man, but he does it because that's what his role's got to be. And and then Landon, he just great defensively. He's a good teammate. And I like Landon. I like all the guys really.
We have so many shooters besides like Kyle Higdon maybe, but everyone shoots a lights out, and that's always a good thing.
I'll ask, is that all you want to add? I don't want to cut you off again, Jack.
Yeah, all I have.
Yeah, I want to ask you that, Coach. Talk about this kind of a moment. Talk about your whole roster. If you're 9 guys deep, 10 guys deep, who's all the players you have? Kind of tell us a little bit about them.
Obviously, you got these two, and then we've talked a lot about Brody. And I think there's a few guys that could round out that starting lineup. Caden, he didn't get to play last summer because of surgery, and then he didn't get to play this summer because of rehab. And he was somebody that I thought was coming along really well. He's so strong and aggressive to the rim. Could be very, very good defensively. And then I think our 2 best defenders are probably Kobe and Landon. They're very, very quick. Pound for pound, our best athletes. It's just unfortunate they're both about 5'8". But they both can shoot it really well. They can put it on the floor. Kobe can run the point for us. Landon is getting a lot better at being aggressive and driving and putting pressure on defenses. And then you got 2 seniors, Zach and Hayden. They can score. I don't know how much they will score consistently throughout, but they're guys that can come in and they can score in a hurry, and then they can make their handprint on the game, And just like Zach the other day, I think we won a game 47-44, and I believe he may hit 4 or 5 threes. Somebody that can keep us in it, and Hayden at 6 foot is skilled at all areas of the floor, and then let's see, what is that? That's 8 guys, and then the last, there's probably maybe 3 or 4 other guys. Chase has been great for us. He's been able to get a lot of time. He had to guard Moss a lot this summer when we played him both times, and did a really good job, held his own. Very tough kid. Kyle came back to us, and honestly, he's probably our emergency point guard. He can handle it well enough and put the ball on the floor. And we got a bunch of good freshmen coming in. Camden Sanders has been playing really well for us as a freshman. Long, knows how to play, and he can really, really shoot the ball. And I've learned from my first 7 years of coaching, we usually were able to teach our defense, and then we had to figure out how to put the ball in the hole. You can't teach guys who are able to do that just naturally, and that's something that Camden can do. And I could see that him pushing for some varsity time just because of his ability to stretch the floor and shoot like he does.
Yeah, so I've kind of been talking about it all week. I think a lot of people's really hyped up for it. You guys will be there at Collins this weekend. Speak about being able to coach in front of these scouts, other coaches, things like that. And I want the players to talk a little bit. Jack and Spencer, speak on being able to play in front of these scouts, coaches, getting your name out there, and becoming kind of statewide known and get that opportunity to be recruited. I'll start with Travis about kind of coaching in that environment, then Spencer and Jack.
I think it's really neat. Chris does a great job. It's really good for our state to be getting our guys out there and noticed. And there's a lot of coaches that show up. I was not able to go to the Friday night games last year. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to coach against state champ Lyon County. But I did see pictures. I mean, you had Matt Painter from Purdue right behind our bench, watching him, and it's just something that's really neat. And when you play other guys who are very good and maybe a little bit older, you got coaches that are there watching, and maybe one of our guys does something that catches their eye. You just never know when the timing is that a coach is going to see somebody or notice somebody on your team, and so on and so forth. So I think it's something that we'll probably end up having to get in just about every year, and I think it's really good to be able to play in front of those coaches and against that elite talent.
For me, it's just that it's good to play for me to play in front of those scouts and stuff, because I'm starting to get more known a little bit, but my name's still ain't out there a whole lot. And if I play good, then I got people start to keep their eye on me. And yeah, last year we played Lyon County, and it was fun playing in front of all those scouts and playing against Travis Perry and them. They went on to win state, so yeah.
I always think it's pretty fun to play in front of scouts, like when they're just lined up over the baseline. I get nervous sometimes, but it's fun.
Coach, I've not got a lot of more things. I wanted to go about 35, 40 minutes. We've met that even here, but I got a few more stuff I want to talk to you about. When we look at this Grayson team and we think about this upcoming season, say October, we're starting to make predictions, write down things, preseason awards. What should we expect out of this Grayson County team this year? What kind of physicality will we be seeing from you guys? And what kind of basketball will we be seeing?
I hope a lot more physicality, just as far as not letting teams do whatever they want and kind of push us around. And then obviously you're going to see a fast team. We got a lot of guys that can play. We want to get up and down the floor, shoot a lot. I think we talked this summer about how there is no shot clock in basketball in the state of Kentucky. But with this team, we probably need to be playing. If we're holding it for 35, 40 seconds, I'm not so sure. I would say that we probably could have gotten a good shot in that time if we're doing what we're supposed to do. So we're going to want to play fast and score even more this year, but at the same time, make sure it's more turned up on the defensive end. But obviously, our goal is simple. It's to win the district. It's to win the region. We know that's going to be hard to do, and we know we're going to be challenged quite a bit, especially inside our district. But that's the goal that we have to set, and that's the goal we have to work for. And I think that if we can fine-tune a couple things from now until October 15th when we start practicing, and then when we start games on whatever date it is, I believe we have a really good shot at being very good this season.
I want to touch on this, Travis, because it's a hot debate. Everybody talks about it, especially in our third region. Coaches like our coach at Brayton County has made comments. You've made comments. Our principals and schools have made comments. Speak on the region tournament a little bit, the Owensboro Sports Center. I don't know what the future will be. I see you smiling a little bit. I know this is a topic that I've seen you talk about. Give your thoughts on it. Do you like it there? Do you want it moved? Why would it be better for us to maybe have it somewhere in a more neutral zone or a place that doesn't play at a home court, like with Owensboro Catholic?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing is that, you look at all these other schools that or these other regions that have it at college courts, nobody plays there. Nobody has their home floor on Diddle Arena and stuff like that. And then even in the regions where it only rotates through a couple different schools, at least it's that parity that you can go to, and there's not just a distinct advantage. And then, they talk about how it's the center of the region. It's really not. It's complete opposite one way. If you want to get technical about it, Ohio and even a little bit towards us is probably the most central location on it. But I do think there's gyms that can host. I personally wouldn't be opposed to going back to the format where your district winners host and then playing the semis and the finals in the sports center. I know it has the best parking, it has the best seating, all that stuff. But I played there. I've been in their locker rooms. It ain't that good, and that's not a knock on them whatsoever. But there's a lot of things that can be that could be better that even high schools have better than what they do. And I don't know. I don't think it's as big of a deal as I once thought it was. However, on the flip side, when you get to play a lot of games on a college-sized court to where other people don't, it's just I think there's other things that can make it a little bit more fair.
I agree, and I've seen some comments be before that it can hold the most fans. They get the most people there, but I'll be honest with you, I've seen fully packed out high school gyms hold more players. And some people that even go to that sports center at times, I've seen it dead before. And it's hard to outpack, a district or a region game, probably at a high school with all the people that would come there. Jack and Spencer, I want to ask if there's anything you would like to leave out and tell everyone before we hop off here. You talk about this season, goals you have, who you are as a player, things like that. Just let people get to know. And I'll ask Travis that, and then we'll end this up here.
I just want everybody to know that we've improved and we ain't going to get put out in the first round of district this year. So, yeah. And I'm going to try to get my name out there this season. I got better at a lot of things, so I want to show people what I got better at and what we got better at as a team.
One of the main goals for us is definitely to win region for the next few years. Hopefully go back-to-back.
Coach, I'll ask you two more questions, actually. For those that don't know, we got some people in here I've seen comment from Ohio County, things like that. Speak on this community that Grayson County brings, and say you guys do make that district championship game. You guys do go to region. Can we expect to see Grayson County follow and see packed out gyms with, orange and blue there?
Yeah, I would hope so. I think that I think our school does a really good job of supporting our student athletes, and I think that each program does a good job of supporting each other. For example, I know a lot of our guys go to a lot of football games and vice versa and things like that. And I think that we play an exciting brand for maybe the casual fan that's not sure if they want to come or things like that. But I do think you would expect to see that. And looking at it, we haven't made the region. We hadn't really given a reason to get excited about it. But I'll say right now, I think everybody should and needs to get excited about this team and in particular these two guys, because we got some studs and we got a team that can really play as long as we're working for the right things. And I'm really, really excited. I'm excited for Collins tomorrow, and I'm really excited for the season next year.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a great season. I'm interested to see this team. I've been able to be pretty close with these two guys at the bottom, and I can tell their hard work ethic and the players they are. I want to say I'll welcome you guys back anytime in the future. If you guys would like to come back here and talk, we might chat closer to district time, closer to a bigger game. I'll be at some Grayson County games. I'll see y'all at Collins this week. This was Grayson County boys basketball. Players Spencer Langdon, Jack Loxton, and head coach Travis Johnson. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Going to be a fun season for Grayson County this year, I believe. I expect a region push from this team, really, if I were to say right now from some of the stuff I've seen. I want to say thank you, everyone,